Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. And today we're looking at something a little different.
Oh,
Yeah, it's Jordan Peterson's take on life planning and motivation.
interesting.
Yeah, so he lays it all out in this video, 13 minutes to change your life.
Okay.
And honestly, I was a bit skeptical at first.
Yeah.
Can you really make a big shift in just 13 minutes?
Right.
But we dug into the material and wow, there's a lot to unpack here.
What struck me right away is that Peterson doesn't sugarcoat things.
Right.
He acknowledges that both positive and negative emotions are part of the human experience.
And he says the key is learning how to use both to your advantage. So
Exactly.
how do we do that?
Well, he starts by having us spend 15 minutes.
Wait, 15, not 13.
Yeah, a little extra time envisioning our ideal future selves.
Okay.
He calls it the bad first draft concept because it's not about perfection.
Yeah.
It's about getting a sense of direction.
Like brainstorming without judgment.
Exactly. You're free to explore different possibilities, dream big, and see where your mind takes you.
That freedom itself can be pretty motivating, I imagine.
It really can be.
But then Peterson throws this curveball. He says true motivation might not come from chasing happiness.
That's a thought-provoking idea.
Right. He suggests it's actually the desire to avoid suffering that gets us moving.
It's true how often are our choices driven by wanting to prevent bad things from happening.
Right. It's not always about seeking bliss. It's more about steering clear of those awful scenarios we can imagine.
Exactly. It's like better the devil you know than the devil you don't.
Maybe we're more motivated by keeping those known devils at bay than by chasing some abstract angel of happiness.
Peterson's suggesting happiness isn't a destination, but a feeling we get from moving towards something meaningful.
I like that.
He even connects happiness to the Spirit of God.
Whoa, hold on. Didn't see that one coming.
It refers to being driven by something larger than yourself, a sense of purpose.
Okay, that makes more sense.
So it's not just about feeling good, it's about pursuing something that truly resonates with you.
So then how do we set goals that really resonate if we're not just chasing happiness?
It boils down to aligning your goals with your deepest values and aspirations.
When you're working towards something you genuinely believe in, you experience true purpose.
Yeah. And fulfillment.
Right. It's like you said, tapping into that spirit of God Peterson mentioned.
Right. Finding meaning and direction beyond just fleeting moments of happiness.
This is where it gets really interesting to me. Peterson suggests using negative emotions like fear or anxiety to fuel action.
Sounds counterintuitive.
Right. But hear me out.
Okay.
He says instead of trying to suppress or avoid those negative emotions, we should confront them head on.
And use them to our advantage.
Exactly. He even suggests vividly imagining the consequences of inaction 5 years down the line.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like really paint a picture of your personal worst-case scenario.
Intense.
He calls it your brand of hell.
Yikes.
He gives this powerful example of someone stuck in a terrible job.
Okay.
They stay because it's familiar, but they just become more and more miserable over time.
Oof.
It's a reminder that avoiding discomfort in the present can lead to even greater suffering down the road.
So how do we apply this to our own lives?
Right. How do we identify those fears that might be holding us back right now?
It starts with honest self-reflection. What are you avoiding? What are you afraid of?
And what would happen if you stayed stuck in that fear 5 years from now?
Facing those fears head-on can give you the momentum to break free and move forward.
But it's not all doom and gloom. Peterson also emphasizes the power of positive emotions.
Not just in a good vibes only kind of way.
Right. He's saying positive emotions are the driving force behind focused motivation, the desire to pursue our goals.
So it's not just gritting your teeth and pushing through fear, it's about tapping into excitement and energy too.
The excitement that comes with pursuing something you genuinely care about.
Exactly. And remember how Peterson said happiness is tied to forward movement?
Yeah.
When you have a clear vision and you're actively working towards it, you experience more positive emotions.
And those positive emotions make it easier to take action and make progress.
It's a positive feedback loop.
Speaking of positive emotions, Peterson shared this fact that blew me away. Did you know many drugs of abuse hijack the positive emotion system?
Really?
Yeah, it makes users feel like they're doing something worthwhile, even if they're not.
That's wild.
It shows how powerful the positive emotion system is and how easily it can be manipulated.
So we need to find healthy and sustainable ways to activate that system.
Exactly, and that's where Peterson's concept of the motivation gradient comes in.
Okay, now we're talking.
He's essentially saying we need to align both positive and negative emotions to create a powerful force.
A force for achieving our
Right.
goals.
Break down this motivation gradient for me. What does that actually look like?
Imagine a slope on one side. You have the fear of what might happen if you don't achieve your goals.
Okay.
That's the push that gets you moving on the other side. You have the excitement and anticipation of what you will achieve.
Got it.
That's the pull that draws you forward.
So the steeper the slope, the stronger the force propelling you towards your goals.
Exactly.
Harnessing both the carrot and the stick, working together to keep you motivated.
That's the idea.
This is powerful stuff, and it makes a lot of sense.
And it all goes back to having a clear vision about, remember that 15-minute exercise?
Yeah.
By defining what you truly want, you're creating a target for your emotional energy.
It's like setting the coordinates for your internal compass.
Exactly. Even if the path isn't always clear, having that direction makes a huge difference.
So you know where you're headed and can tap into both the positive anticipation and the negative consequences.
Right. It's a built-in system for staying motivated, fueled by both your hopes and your fears.
But what about when we get stuck in a rut? Life gets comfortable. We lose motivation.
That's when complacency sets in. When things are going well, it's easy to get comfortable.
And we stop pushing ourselves.
Right. So how do we shake things up and reignite that motivation?
Do we have to manufacture some kind of crisis?
Not necessarily. It's more about recognizing that discomfort is a natural part of growth.
Like a muscle, if you don't challenge it, it gets weak.
Exactly. So pushing ourselves beyond our comfort zone can be uncomfortable at first.
But it ultimately makes us stronger.
Right. And more resilient.
And it doesn't have to be a huge leap. Small steps outside your comfort zone can have a big impact over time.
The key is to keep moving forward, striving towards something meaningful.
So it's not about avoiding discomfort altogether. It's about reframing it.
As a sign that you're on the right track.
A signal that we're growing, expanding, evolving.
I think Peterson would agree. He talks a lot about embracing challenges as opportunities for growth.
Because it's not about achieving some state of perfection. It's about the journey of becoming the best version of yourself.
And that journey is fueled by both our positive and negative emotions propelling us forward.
It's fascinating to think our emotions, which we often see as obstacles, can actually be powerful allies.
It really makes you rethink your relationship with your emotions.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. Envisioning our ideal selves, confronting our fears, tapping into positive emotions.
What's the core message here, the big takeaway?
I think it's recognizing that we have more control over our emotions than we realize.
By setting meaningful goals, confronting our fears, focusing on what matters.
We can create a powerful internal environment for growth and achievement.
It's about aligning our hearts and minds, desires and fears to work towards something bigger than ourselves.
And that brings us back to Peterson's point about positive emotion and forward movement.
It does raise a thought-provoking question. What happens when we become too comfortable?
What happens when we stop challenging ourselves?
If positive emotion is the engine of progress, what happens when we lose that momentum?
That's a great point. We need a certain amount of positive friction in our lives.
I like that positive friction. It's the resistance that sparks growth.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to leave you with a challenge.
Okay.
What small step can you take today to get back into the flow of pursuing a meaningful goal?
It doesn't have to be a huge leap.
Right. It could be revisiting that 15-minute vision exercise.
Or identifying one small fear that's holding you back.
Or just taking a few minutes to reconnect with the excitement of working towards something you really care about.
Remember, it's about progress, not perfection.
Every step moves us closer to becoming the best versions of ourselves. And who knows?
What?
Maybe we'll even discover a little bit of that spirit of God Peterson was talking about.
That would be something.
It would.
So it's not about seeking out hardship or anything.
Right.
It's more about understanding that a little bit of discomfort can actually be a good thing.
Exactly. Peterson talks about this idea of positive friction.
Okay.
That resistance we encounter when we push ourselves beyond our comfort zones.
I see.
It can feel uncomfortable in the moment, but it's that friction that ultimately helps us grow and become more resilient.
Like they say, smooth seas don't make skillful sailors.
Right. We need those choppy waters to really develop our skills and our resilience.
I like that.
Okay, so I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together.
Yeah.
We're talking about setting meaningful goals, harnessing both positive and negative emotions, and embracing discomfort as a catalyst for growth.
It's all connected.
But it still feels a bit abstract.
Yeah.
Can you give me a concrete example of how someone might put these ideas into practice?
Sure, let's say someone dreams of starting their own business.
Okay.
They have a great idea, they're passionate about it, but they're also terrified of failing.
That's a pretty relatable fear. I think a lot of people can identify with that.
Absolutely. So in this scenario, the fear of failure is the push side of the motivation gradient.
Okay.
It's what keeps them up at night worrying about what might happen if they don't succeed.
But it's not enough to just be afraid of failing, right?
Right. They need something to pull them forward, too.
That pull of the vision.
Exactly. They need to spend time really fleshing out their idea, picturing what success would look like.
And connecting with the positive emotions that come with achieving that goal.
That's it. Get excited about the possibilities, not just dwell on the potential pitfalls.
And that's where the 15-minute vision exercise comes in.
It can be really powerful by taking the time to visualize their ideal future.
They're creating a roadmap for their emotional energy.
Exactly, giving themselves something tangible to strive for.
And as they start taking action toward their goal, they'll inevitably encounter challenges and setbacks.
That's where the idea of embracing discomfort comes in.
Right. Those moments of discomfort are opportunities to learn and grow.
Exactly.
They're proof that they're pushing themselves beyond their comfort zones and moving closer to their goal.
It's all part of the process.
Those moments are like signposts pointing them in the right direction.
I like that.
Not something to be feared, but rather embraced as part of the journey.
And don't forget those positive emotions.
Oh, right. They play a crucial role here, too.
When you encounter a setback, it's easy to get discouraged.
Yeah, and just give up.
But if you can tap into those positive emotions associated with your vision,
It gives you the resilience to keep going.
exactly like a reserve tank of motivation you can draw on when things get tough.
Okay, so we've got the push of fear, the pull of vision, and the power of positive emotions.
To help us navigate the inevitable bumps in the road.
But what about those times when we just feel stuck? You know, like we've lost momentum and we're not sure how to get it back.
Sometimes it helps to revisit your vision.
Okay.
Remind yourself why you're doing this in the first place.
What are those core values and aspirations that are driving you?
What would your life look like if you achieved this goal?
Take a step back to reconnect with the big picture.
And reignite that sense of purpose.
And sometimes it can be helpful to break down your goal into smaller, more manageable steps
Yeah, that can make it feel less daunting,
and give you a sense of progress.
which can further fuel your motivation.
It's like a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Right. Sometimes we just need to focus on putting one foot in front of the other.
And trust that the momentum will build over time.
That's a great way to think about it.
And progress isn't always linear, is it?
No, not at all. There will be times when you feel like you're taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back.
That's normal.
It's all part of the process. The important thing is to keep moving forward.
Even if it's just a little bit at a time.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. Whether it's from a friend, a mentor, or a professional coach,
Having that support system.
can make a world of difference, someone to hold you accountable.
Yeah, it's like having a cheerleader in your corner
Reminding you why you started this journey in the first place.
and encouraging you to keep going.
And remember, you're not alone in this.
Right.
Everyone faces challenges and setbacks on the path to achieving their goals.
It's part of the human experience.
The key is to develop the resilience and the mindset to keep moving forward even when things get tough.
It sounds like we're talking about a lot more than just setting goals and achieving them.
We are.
It's about developing a certain way of being in the world,
Yeah.
a way of approaching challenges and setbacks with a sense of purpose and determination.
You're absolutely right, and that's what's so powerful about Peterson's approach.
It's not just a set of techniques or strategies
It's a philosophy.
for living a more meaningful and fulfilling life,
And it all starts with taking ownership of our emotions
understanding how they can work for us or against us.
and choosing to align them with our goals and aspirations.
Okay, so we've talked about setting goals, harnessing emotions, and embracing discomfort.
What else is there?
What else is there to this approach?
Well, one important aspect we haven't really touched on yet is the role of meaning and purpose.
Okay, you mean like finding something that gives our lives significance beyond just achieving goals.
Exactly. Peterson talks about this idea of connecting with something larger than ourselves.
Okay.
Something that gives our lives a sense of purpose and transcendence.
You mentioned the Spirit of God earlier. Is that what he's referring to here?
Well, yes and no. It's not necessarily about religion or spirituality in a traditional sense.
I see.
It's more about tapping into those universal values and principles that give our lives meaning and direction.
So things like love, compassion, justice, truth.
Exactly, when we align our actions and goals with these higher principles.
It gives us a sense of purpose.
And fulfillment that goes beyond just achieving material success.
It's like our lives become part of something bigger than ourselves.
Something that transcends our individual ego and desires.
And this sense of meaning and purpose can be a powerful source of motivation.
Especially when we face challenges and setbacks.
Yeah, it's like having an anchor that keeps us grounded and focused.
Even when the storms of life are raging around us.
That's a great analogy. And the beauty of it is that this sense of meaning and purpose,
Yeah.
it isn't something we need to search for outside ourselves,
It's already within us.
waiting to be discovered.
So how do we tap into it?
How do we tap into that inner wellspring of meaning and purpose?
It starts with asking ourselves some fundamental questions.
Like what?
What do I truly value? What do I believe in? What kind of impact do I want to make on the world?
Some pretty deep soul searching.
It is, and it's not always easy or comfortable, but it's through this process of self-discovery.
That we can begin to align our lives with what truly matters to us.
Right, and once we've identified those core values and principles,
How do we integrate them into our daily lives
it's about making choices that are consistent with our values.
and taking actions that move us closer to our goals?
So it's not just about thinking about these things.
It's about actually living them out in the real world.
Exactly, and this can manifest in many different ways.
Okay,
It could be through our work, our relationships, our hobbies, or our community involvement.
tell me different avenues.
The key is to find those areas where our passions and values intersect.
And to focus our energy there.
Precisely. And when we do, that's when we truly start to experience that sense of meaning and purpose.
That Peterson talks about.
Right. It's like
Oh.
we're finally living in alignment with our true selves.
And that's a pretty powerful feeling.
It is, and it's something that can sustain us through the inevitable ups and downs of life.
So this whole approach is about a lot more than just achieving goals
It's about cultivating a certain mindset
and a way of being in the world.
that allows us to live more fulfilling and meaningful lives.
You're absolutely right. And that's what's so inspiring about Peterson's approach.
It's not just about self-improvement.
It's about becoming better human beings.
Well said.
I think we've covered a lot of ground here, and I'm already feeling inspired to put some of these ideas into practice.
Me too. What's next on our deep dive agenda?
Well, we've talked about the theoretical underpinnings of Peterson's approach,
Right, the big picture stuff.
but now it's time to get practical. In part 3, we'll explore some specific techniques and exercises
Okay,
that you can use to apply these ideas to your own life.
sounds good. I'm ready to get into the nitty-gritty.
Me too. Let's take a short break, and then we'll dive into the practical stuff. Okay, so we've explored a lot of Jordan Peterson's thinking,
Yeah,
setting meaningful goals, the power of emotions, embracing discomfort.
right.
Now let's get down to the practical stuff. What are some techniques we can actually use in our lives?
Well, that 15-minute vision exercise we talked about is a great place to start.
Right.
Remember, it's not about a perfect plan, just getting a sense of direction.
Yeah, like a rough draft of your ideal future.
Exactly. Find a quiet spot, set a timer for 15 minutes, and just write.
Just let it flow.
Don't worry about making it sound perfect. Just get those thoughts out.
What should we be thinking about during this exercise?
Imagine yourself 5 years from now. What's your life like? What are you doing? Who are you with?
Okay.
What kind of person have you become?
So it's like creating a movie in our minds.
Yeah, a mental movie of our best possible future.
And the more vivid, the better.
The more vivid and detailed, the more powerful it will be. Engage all your senses.
What do you see, hear, smell, taste, and feel?
Exactly.
And it's okay if our vision changes as we go, right?
Of course, life is dynamic. Things change.
So our goals and aspirations might evolve too.
The point is to have a direction, something to aim for.
Right, like a compass.
As you do this exercise, pay attention to your emotions too.
What if I feel excited and energized? Is that good?
It could be. It suggests you're on the right track, but don't ignore negative emotions either.
Oh, right, like fear, anxiety.
Yeah, explore those feelings. What are they telling you?
Maybe they're highlighting areas where I need to do more work.
Or where you might need to adjust your course.
Okay, so it's all information to guide us.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's say we have our vision. Now what? How do we make it real?
Peterson says, break down that big goal into smaller steps.
Smaller, more manageable steps,
Right. It makes it less overwhelming and gives you a sense of progress.
which can motivate us to keep going.
Exactly. Like, how do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
It's it. So focus on one small step you can take today.
Then tomorrow, another step.
And so on, building momentum.
And we should celebrate those small wins too, right?
Absolutely. Recognizing your progress helps you stay motivated.
Okay, so we're taking action, we're celebrating our wins, but what about when we hit a roadblock? You know, those inevitable setbacks.
Well, that's where embracing discomfort comes in.
Right, those negative emotions.
They can help us overcome challenges.
So instead of avoiding them, we should lean into them.
In a way, yes, but it's not about dwelling in negativity.
Okay.
It's about using them as fuel to push us forward.
So how do we do that?
Peterson suggests imagining the worst-case scenario.
Really?
Yeah, let yourself go there, visualize what happens if you don't reach your goal.
That sounds intense.
It can be, but the idea is to use that fear as motivation.
Okay.
Once you've faced your worst fear, it can become less intimidating.
Like facing your demons and seeing they're not so scary after all.
Exactly, and then you can start planning how to avoid that scenario.
So turning fear into action.
Right, and remember, this is just one technique.
There are others.
Yeah, another approach is reframing negative thoughts and feelings.
Okay.
Instead of seeing them as obstacles, view them as challenges or opportunities.
Opportunities for growth.
Right, it's about shifting our perspective.
And that can transform those negative emotions into something positive.
Exactly, something productive.
Okay, so we've covered setting goals, taking action, embracing discomfort, harnessing emotions.
What else?
Is there anything else we should be thinking about on this self-improvement journey?
Peterson emphasizes patience and persistence. Real change takes time and effort.
Yeah, it's not going to happen overnight.
It's a lifelong process of learning and growing.
And we should be kind to ourselves along the way.
Right, absolutely. We all make mistakes. We all have those moments of weakness.
It's human.
The important thing is to learn from those experiences and keep moving forward.
So this is about more than just checking things off a list.
It's about how we approach life.
It's about developing a mindset that lets us live more fulfilling lives.
You got it. And that's what's so inspiring about this approach.
It's not just self-improvement.
It's about becoming better people.
Well said. I'm feeling really motivated to put all this into practice.
Me too. Any final thoughts for our listeners as we wrap up?
Yeah.
Remember, you have the power to create the life you want. It's not always easy.
Right.
But it's always worth it. So go out there and make it happen.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Jordan Peterson's work.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you found it insightful. And remember, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step.
One step at a time.
What will your first